Today on Locked On Rockies, it's a roster full of players that can be defined as utility players. Does that make the Rockies a jack of all trades and masters at none?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 4th day of March in the year 2026. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you're in the right spot because that's what we do around here, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Today on the show, we're going to take a look at a deeper dive Thomas Harding does on some numbers for the first base competition between TJ Rumfield and Charlie Condon. Plus, the Rockies have a lot of utility players that can play multiple positions. Is that going to be a strength for the Rockies, or are they going to suffer from players that aren't going to get consistent playing time in certain spots or consistent playing time at all? We'll talk about that coming up, as well as Kyle Freeland getting his first start of the spring and your comments, all on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we go any further, though, this episode is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTheShow.com/LockedOn and use code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. I'm, of course, Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for over 6 seasons now. That means hundreds of episodes here with you on the Locked On Rockies podcast, going through Rockies baseball on the daily with you, the everydayers out there. And thank you again so much for making us your first listen of the day. All right, no Rockies action on Tuesday, but they will be back in action here, taking on Team USA, as Kyle Freeland's going to be seeing his first spring action here after they were taking it easy with back spasms. We know that's been something that Kyle Freeland has dealt with throughout his career. Here's what Kyle Freeland told Thomas Harding here about about pitching against Team USA and his experience with Team USA as well. I played for them a few years ago, and manager Mark DeRosa is back at the helm, said Freeland, who expects to go 1 inning the way most Rockies starters have this spring. It's going to be fun to face them and face old teammates. There are guys that I know in the league that I'll face with USA across their chest. And what makes, I think, an interesting wrinkle here, too, with spring training and having the World Baseball Classic is this one means a little bit more, right? Like this game, obviously, the Team USA is trying to get sharp, and boy, did they look like they were sharp, taking on, I believe it was the Brewers. A few home runs, lots of runs scored. That Team USA lineup is good, but it's one of those games, and it's one of those moments, I think, in the camp that gives you a little bit more jolt of energy, gives you a little bit of that more of that competitive, that real baseball type of injection that you Rockies now. It's been 2 weeks now of spring training games. It's camp. It's the process. It's the routine of all that stuff. But when you do something like this, even though it's a scrimmage, you still see the guys that are going to be on the field for Team USA. You still see the guys that are in that dugout across from you. Plus, with the international competition and that kind of the World Baseball Classic, especially being heightened in popularity, I think this is a good little energy booster for the Rockies and for teams in spring training. It just is one of those things where it's obviously not. It doesn't matter in the end of the day. It's practice for both teams, but it's one of those ones that gives you a little extra juice, just a little extra energy. And I'm certain if you're a young guy, if you're a Rockies prospect and you're taking the field in today's game against Team USA, you're going to remember that one. That's when you were on the field with a bunch of greats, when you were in part of the process. Hey, you might not be on Team USA, you might not be part of it, but playing a teeny tiny role in at least, sharing in a small part of that experience. So I just think I continue to enjoy the World Baseball Classic. I continue to think it is really great that players are getting the opportunity to go and play and be a part of it. And it was cool when the Rockies had players a part of it. It was cool when Kyle Freeland was pitching on the big stage. It's going to be really cool to see Senza and Tovar, play on the big stage, and same with all the other guys that are out there. I think that it is a really good way to set the tone for the season here, the World Baseball Classic. I think it's going to be fun. And Freeland, good place for him to get started. I mean, hey, talk about a lineup to get your first look at, your first reps against here. So hopefully Free's got that control and is able to raise a couple of eyebrows here in this spring training matchup, taking on Team USA. Just a little bit more here, Kyle Freeland just talking about his just contract, what's different, and some comments from Warren Schaefer, just to put a little more context behind the reason to the slow start to the spring here. Time will tell, Freeland said, who earns a $16 million this year to end a 5-year, $64.5 million deal, but has a vesting option for 2027 at $17 million if he reaches 170 innings pitched this season. There's some stuff that we're adding to my routine, stuff that I'm going to continue to do in the training room. Hopefully it's going to pay dividends throughout the season, keeping me healthy and keeping my back and hips feeling good. It's, in general, keeping the T-spine open and having good mobility. And with that, there are exercises I can do in the weight room and training room to allow me to keep that mobility. Freeland's calm response to the early health setback gives him a chance to reach season goals. And here's what Warren Schaefer said here. I'm not worried about Free at all. He's looked good during his last 2 pens, looks normal. And here's something from here as Kyle Freeland now talks about his work on pitch testing and pitch adjustment that we've heard from a lot of guys in camp for the Rockies so far. We're working hard trying to get something that I'm comfortable with that can profile off my fastball, Freeland said. There's a lot of good stuff. I'm excited to see it in the game. Just a little bit here from Harding on the injury front, just to put a bow on that. We talked a little bit about that. Was it end of last week or on Monday this week? Injury news involving key players is generally positive. Tyler Freeman, low back strain, took live batting practice on Sunday and is expected in in-game action this week. Brenton Doyle is scheduled to resume baseball activity this week. So, good signs, good news there, and it'll be interesting to see how Kyle Freeland tackles the Team USA lineup as spring rolling on, getting closer and closer to not only the World Baseball Classic, but opening day as well. Hey, also another piece here, of course, Thomas Harding doing a lot of great work for the Rockies here in spring training. Had a couple of a look here, as this was an intriguing headline, as this metric indicates these 2 prospects could be ready for the majors here. And it's talking about TJ Rumfield and Charlie Condon here. So here's the setting the stage for it. Theoretically, there's a place on the Rockies opening day roster for right and left-handed hitting first baseman. But one of many reasons the Rockies' fortunes have cratered in recent seasons is players were pushed into the majors ready or not, mainly because of a lack of depth. But neither Rumfield nor Condon is on the Major League 40-man roster, and a new front office has been building depth. If nothing unforeseen, good or bad, happens, the Rockies don't have to carry both first-timers. The evaluation will go beyond the fact that both hit 3 home runs in February spring training games. It's quite possible that the choice between Rumfield and Condon comes down to velocity, as in how fast they've progressed through the minors. There's another velocity that matters that Harding mentions, but we'll get to that later. Here's what he just says a little bit about the journey for both of these players here. Rumfield's development has taken time. He was a 12th round Phillies pick in 2021 out of Virginia Tech, who was dealt to the Yankees in November of that year. The Yankees' ability to acquire major leaguers allowed him to develop into a hitter that posed an .825 OPS with 16 homers in AAA last year. Acquired in a trade this winter for righty reliever Angel Chevy, Rumfield, who turns 26 on May 17th, learned to embrace his struggles more than his stats. And what I love about this upcoming quote here is this is a baseball mindset. This is a baseball player's mindset and a baseball player's approach to not only, the game, but I'm sure life as well here. Being able to fail in the minor leagues is a huge part of it, said Rumfield. Learning how to hit velocity is trial and error, learning things that work and don't work. You need to be able to fail in the batting cages without judgment or embarrassment. Get something to fall back on in an environment where it is really hard, maybe on a machine with the ball coming real hard, something that would never happen in a game. And that's what I mean. That's dealing and managing failure is one of the most important traits you can have as a ball player. It is an insanely difficult sport, an insanely difficult concept to wrap your brain around as a competitor. To be great as a baseball player, you fail constantly. You fail every game. You strike out. You only get one hit, or you only get on via the walk. You overthrow first. You walk a couple of batters and get punished for it. Baseball has so much failure in it, but it's how you bounce back from that failure, and it's how you bounce back quickly, and how you manage that each individual scenario that appears, how each pitch is different. It's what makes it so fascinating. It's what makes baseball so unique compared to the other sports, where obviously it's a team effort, it's a team game, it takes a lot for the team, but you have I just don't feel like there's in other sports have nearly the variance on what can happen on each individual pitch and how that'll impact the game. There's so much that changes. Basketball, there's so much change of possession. There's so much flow there. Football, there's your offense, your schemes, your it could be advantages in other ways. Baseball, any little thing can happen. And you play so much and you play so frequently, there's no way to escape the variables. So I just like hearing that. Harding also manages here. It talks about Condon's rise here and getting through the fall league and dealing with the injuries here. Here's what Condon says about this. I've obviously got clear goals for what I've set out to do this spring, Condon said. None of that has to do where I end up when spring training is said and done. I keep beating the same drum, playing the same baseball as I always have. I let everybody figure out where I'm headed after that. An important measure of a player's readiness, one the Rockies can afford to hone in on more than in the recent past, is the ability to hit major league velocity. The average four-seamer pops in at 95 miles an hour. Here's what Harding took a look at some of the numbers here. Let's take a look at both players on fastballs put in play that were 94 miles per hour or greater. Rumfield in the 2025 regular season, 314 batting average, 471 slugging percentage. Charlie Condon, 280 average, 440 slugging. 2026 spring training before Sunday, so obviously it doesn't factor in Monday's game. TJ Rumfield, 1 for 2, 500. Charlie Condon, 2 for 3. It's still early for pitchers and hitters, and pitchers' plans don't resemble the regular season and what the pitcher is trying to accomplish in scouting opposing hitters until the final 10 days. That's why even in 2016, when then Rockies prospect Trevor Story was hotter than the desert sun, feet were pressed firmly to the brakes until his power continued to the final days. Both Rumfield and Condon have gone deep against decent velocity. Rumfield against 92.4 miles per hour. Condon the opposite way to right against 92.7. Rummy has been on stuff. He's on the fastball, Rockies manager Warren Schaefer said. He's been swinging the bat well, moving well in the box. Rhythmic. With Charlie, I see an improvement on a daily basis. The first couple of games I saw him laid on the heater with a very quick adjustment of late. At San Francisco, his homer was off velocity. Rumfield found his confidence in the Arizona Fall League in 2022 when he hit 400 with a home run and 7 doubles and finished with a 1.059 OPS in 17 games. I was like, maybe I can do this professionally, Rumfield said. Then 23 was my breakout. 222 average, but 17 homers and 58 RBI in high A and double A. Around 80 games in, I dislocated my shoulder, but I had the best season slugging wise, and I put more emphasis on trying to slug. If all continues, Rumfield looks in solid shape. Last year in the minors, he had acceptable splits, 844 OPS against right-handing pitching, 744 left on left, with plenty of previous years of plate appearances. A right-handed hitting first baseman component makes sense, with Blaine Krim currently nursing a left oblique strain, and utility man Tyler Freeman recovering from a back strain as possible candidates. So I just think that I think that this is it's a fascinating little when you're looking for the small details, when you're looking for the little things, when you're looking for things to watch. how they look at the dish is important here at spring, how they handle these pitches. And that these are encouraging signs. And I was really, we were focused on first base, but I'm even a little bit surprised about how the first base competition, how exciting the first base competition has been so far in the performances that we've seen from both Condon and Rumfield. It's been cool to see, and it'll be cool to see as the spring continues. And like Harding said, the really important stuff to look for is how things look when things start getting a little bit more real in the last final days of spring training. All right. We're overdue for a break. Let's take a break and come back to talk about utility players, a little bit more from this Thomas Harding piece, and more, all on today's show. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. We're also brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. And if you look at the calendar, March and college basketball, do those things have anything in common? Oh, yeah. It's just the biggest month for it. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoop parlay you want. The team that you've been following all year. Ride the hot hand. Go with the team that in your gut tells you is going on a run. And you can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And then you can slap on that profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Back at it here for segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Hey, make sure that you are checking out the Everydayer Club, getting you that ad-free access, getting you access to the Everydayer Club Discord server, where not only can you talk Rockies baseball with us, you can also talk about the World Baseball Classic, other things around baseball, all sorts of great stuff going on there in the Locked On Everydayers Club. $5 a month, $50 a year. That's all it is going to cost you. Support us, and we will support you with great content. LockedOnRockies.supercast.com. Hey, I just wanted to read one more quote from this Thomas Harding piece talking about Charlie Condon and TJ Rumfield. And this is what just a closing take on Charlie Condon, which is another good thing to remember, as there are going to be guys that put on some strong performances. There are guys going to be close calls, and they're not going to make the team. But here's just the closing bit here. In the big picture, if Condon doesn't break with the Rockies, the development time, most likely at AAA Albuquerque, only stands to make him better when the chance comes. But what if Condon proves a quick study in hitting against velocity and how it can make a major league career? It would make him yet another inspiring, in parentheses, Trevor story. If you're on the fastball, it's going to give you enough time to be ready to adjust to breaking pitches, said Condon, who is also receiving outfield work to increase his appeal to the big league club. You can see mistake pitches a lot easier, too. They are always going to have good chase pitches and get you out on them. but you are ready to put good swings on the mistakes. You see good fastballs in the minor leagues. There are guys with really good stuff, but here the difference is it's more consistent. Just like everything that we're talking about, right? Consistency is key. And if Condon is consistently mashing, he's going to force his way up to the major league roster. There's going to be a point where if he's still mashing, he's got to get up and we got to see what he's doing at the major league level and get him up there. Rotate him in with Rumfield, get Rumfield into the DH categories, get Rumfield, days off, get Charlie Condon in the outfield, playing right field as you continue to rotate those players through there. If you mash, you're going to get on the field. At least that's what my dad always taught me. If you can hit the ball, they're going to find a spot for you on the field. And I think that kind of leads pretty well into the next category here, or the next topic here. The Rockies got a lot of utility players on their roster. They got a lot of guys that can play a bunch of different positions. They have a lot of guys that will bounce around, that will play multiple positions. And I'm curious how you react to that as the Rockies fan. Do you see that as a hey, depth? We got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things, and as the grind of the summer and the grind of the season goes through, injuries, this, that, or whatever, we have more options than we've had in the past, major league level options than we've had in the past to address those situations? Or are you a little hesitant that these guys haven't found their quote unquote position? They're where they're the best. They're a top level second baseman, top level third baseman, top level whatever, or a Gold Glover or something like that. We talked a little bit about how Warren Schaefer really wants to lean on the depth and how he's talked about wanting to lean on the depth. I think not only does the roster construction match kind of where the Rockies, the philosophy of the Rockies were using this offseason and building up that depth and giving themselves more options than they've had last year and in previous years. But I think that this is I think this roster, when you have the groups, you got your Castros, you got your Freemans, you got your Julians, you got your McCarthys, you got, who else do we got going on here that you got Cole Carrig as well. There's so many guys that can, bounce around. If it hits, if it works, right? Like if we're focusing on how this could be the positive, the Rockies will be a team that will have a lot of answers and a lot of options when they eat every day, every game. Oh, hey, we like especially now if they're going to be really diving more into matchups, they're going to be looking into analytics, they're going to be looking into the margins, having the ability to pick and place and move and change and shift in game could be an interesting tool and resource for the Rockies here. And I think it's also an opportunity for guys to, if just like we're talking about, if you hit well, you're going to be on the field. If you're able to contribute, no matter the position, you're going to find yourself on the field, right? Or you're going to be in that conversation as for the starting spot. And I think that's the upside of this here. I do have a little bit of hesitations that, it's when I feel like there's maybe a negative connotation against utility players because they do bounce around, or maybe they come off the bench or they play every sixth day or something like that. But I think there's tremendous value if these players perform. I mean, that's the stuff that's going to be a question mark here. But Purple Row here has got quotes from Cole Carrig talking about being engaged and excited about, playing multiple positions here, and talking about the vibes. It's just I think it's going to be interesting for Warren Schaefer as he's going through games, when he's looking at his lineup cards, what he can do, what matchups he can go with, who he can go with in certain situations. And it will be interesting to see how much the Rockies do sub during the games or move things around. But I do think that there is something to be said when you have that. We've seen in the past with Rockies, like the Nolan Arenados, the Troy Tulowitzkis, the DJ LeMahieu's, the Todd Heltons. When you have these elite level players at those positions and you just can count on them, that's obviously huge. But I think the Rockies have the important positions, the most important positions locked up with their small core of guys that need to be in those positions, guys that we need to be able to count on. Ezekiel Tovar at shortstop, Gold Glove caliber defense, slugging potential there. He a very important position. That's one of your leaders right there. One of your best players is in that position. Hunter Goodman, catching. You have that set up right there. Catcher, you have a catcher that contributes. Very, very important. And then center field, especially at Coors Field, you have Brenton Doyle, where you have the question marks about the offense, sure, but the defense is good enough to change the game. So be able to surround those three guys specifically with guys that can play different positions, different looks, different mixes. I think it could lead to some really interesting stuff, despite the fact that they have their utility players instead of, hey, I'm a second baseman, I'm a first baseman. If you the more positions you can play and the more success and the more contributions you give to the Rockies at those positions, the better chance not only you're going to see the field, but the better chance you're going to have at helping the Rockies win ball games. All right, let's take a break, read some of your comments, and put a bow on this one right here on Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back with its newest installment. Baseball fans are going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from the game. That's what we're talking. It's Rockies fans, right? We got to we're hungry for the postseason. So why not go and live the glory by taking the Rockies to the World Series there in the franchise mode, or live out your baseball dreams in the MLB The Show's career mode. My favorite mode. I love going through, especially now that you go through the college ranks and then you get to go to them. I love making a great created character and rising up through the ranks. But hey, you can also just get the game and take on your buddies and do a little trash talk there as well. If you're a gamer, a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in a new, exciting way, you're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise players and see if you have what it takes to win your own World Series. Visit MLBTheShow.com, MLBTheShow.com/LockedOn and use code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection is required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. Wrapping things up here on Locked On Rockies for today. Thank you again so much for making us your first listen of the day. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Let's read a couple of comments here to wind down the show. Luxay says, wow, MLB The Show sponsoring Locked On Rockies. Didn't expect that to happen. Hey, we're excited. MLB The Show. Love that game. I hesitated there because I'm conflicted because I also love another baseball game. But MLB The Show, best in the biz there for your MLB action. And always, like I said, it's to live the dream of the Rockies fan to get there. All right, let's see here. Alan, we were talking about the tough weekend here. I agree. Dolander's fastball has I think we actually read this one yesterday, but Dolander's fastball looking a little hittable for the big leagues, which is surprising to me. Such a fastball. Isn't that crazy? That a 99 or a 98 miles an hour fastball just piped. They're turning on it. It seems easy to hit. Yeah, right. Be peeing in my pants getting in the box there. Scout says, not a fan of the automated balls and strike system. Baseball is a human game. Stop trying to eliminate the human factor from the game. Soon we can have MLB The Show email us each year's schedule and just simulate the game. I as much as I want human umpires to stay forever. But I want human umpires and sports and teams to have to use that technology to come together. So far, it is not impacted it has not negatively impacted the experience for me. But man, is it gonna imagine when a team finally loses on a challenge for the first time in the regular season. It is going to be a huge, huge deal. And Rosen says ballpark pass deal is nuts. If I live close to the stadium, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Yeah, how would you not? I mean, I understand how would you not, but like if you're downtown and you want to watch baseball all summer, why would you not? I mean, a night out with the buddies is going to be, or just even a night at the ballpark with some friends might be close to half of what that cost is there. So why not see? I just think take advantage of the value. It's one benefit of a team that ain't so good. You can get tremendous value, and there's going to be a lot of great teams going through Coors here this year. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and back to the bullpen over there as well, the new show on Locked On MLB. Plus, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.